live, but hopefully I will soon when I get some feedback on this microphone. Usually takes a minute or so, but right now I am not seeing this video pop up on my channel where I can actually interact with an audience here. In the meantime, let's talk about the Olympics. We might as well, because if you haven't heard, Muay Thai is, for 2024, the Summer Olympics, being introduced as a, not an official sport, but a exhibition sport. So I don't know if y'all can hear me yet. Okay, the thumbnail has appeared on my channel. I still don't have any audio feedback. The moment of truth here. Yeah, okay. I finally have audio feedback. We are live. Sweet. Welcome to this edition of Q&A with the Coach Live. This is Ramsey Dewey coming to you from Shanghai, China. So, I want to talk a little bit about Muay Thai in the Olympics, and later, if you have questions, super chats, etc., just leave them in the comments and we will sort through some of those. Brave Lil Spidey is in the chat, says welcome back. Happy Guy 69 Abel is here, gives a thumbs up and says everything is okay. Some more says I can hear you, sweet. Devil Ghost can also hear me. Max is here. 20 minutes until his ninjutsu class. All right. Go do your ninja thing, Max, if you must. Sweet, we got some folks in the chat. So let's discuss Muay Thai in the upcoming Summer Olympics. So, do you remember, a few months back, I made a video discussing the prospect of Muay Thai becoming an Olympic sport. And what I predicted would be that it would not be the Muay Thai that you know and love, but rather would devolve into some sort of competitive dance fighting. Well, I have some news. And that news goes along the lines of, I told you so. A little bit. Because I found out that the Olympic governing body of Muay Thai is now the IFMA, which recognizes 5 different sports as Muay Thai. 1, actual Muay Thai, getting in the boxing ring and punching and kicking and sweeping each other, dropping elbows and knees, all that stuff we associate with Muay Thai, but also the Y Crew, Rum Y. The epic dance battle they always have before every traditional Muay Thai fight. But the IFMA recognizes that as an individual competitive sport. Yes, competitive dance fighting. Now, in the Southeast Asia Games a couple of years ago, the IFMA hosted that event, and they did have some competitive Muay Thai fights, but alongside those, they also had competitive Y Crew, competitive dance fighting. The ritual that Muay Thai fighters do before the fight. There is a ritual dance that they do which is learned from the particular Muay Thai camp that they train at. And this has some symbolism. It has roots in the training camp and the coaches, etc., etc. Sometimes it's a bit of fun as well, but they turned it into a competitive sport. Now, I do not know if there will be competitive Y Crew, Ram Y, at the Olympics as one of the exhibition events. All I know is that the IFMA is now the governing body of Olympic Muay Thai. And they have done it before. There is a precedent for this. There is also a precedent for competitive demos of Muay Boran, for example, or traditional Thai weapons, competitive demos. We might see that in the Olympics. The only information I got for sure is that there will be some Muay Thai fights. We don't know what rule set. All we know is it is amateur, not professional, because it is the Olympics, and that Wakao will appear as a special guest, and he will perform his rendition of the Wai Kru Ram Muay, the Muay Thai dance. Will that be the only one, or will it be a competitive event? I don't know. So what does this mean? Again, I don't know, because we don't have the rule set yet. I assume since it's amateur, they are going to probably incur some penalties for knees and elbows and clinching, and it's going to appear a lot more like kickboxing, probably with chest protectors and headgear, maybe elbow pads, I don't know. But, yep, it's in the Olympics now, as an exhibition sport, like karate was back a few years ago. And we were all so excited about that when one of the most prolific karate fights in the Olympics ended via knockout, and the guy who got knocked out won because the other guy went too hard and landed a head kick, which was illegal. So, anyway, that's my rant about Olympic Muay Thai. Let's see what people have been saying in the comments. What do I think of cable punches for striking power? Pulling on a cable, or pushing a cable out, rather. Like you get on a cable machine with some resistance behind it, and you're essentially doing a one-arm chest press that somewhat resembles a punch that's mechanically the opposite of a punch. Pull your opposite shoulder back to generate power for a punch. It's not about pushing the punching arm forward. We have a super chat from Jari von Lennep, who says, do kickboxing, have short legs, long torso, advice. Okay, so Yari does kickboxing, has short legs, a long torso, and wants advice. Huh. Well, I want to know something about your goals in kickboxing here. How long have you been doing it? Are you planning on competing? Have you competed? Do you want to be a pro fighter? Is this just for fun? What kind of advice specifically are you looking for? This is a broad question. We want to narrow those questions down a bit. With a question this broad, I can give you some pretty narrow answers. Have fun with it. Spar safe, spar smart, and you'll figure out a lot of things. But since you're saying short legs, I'm guessing you're probably feeling like you're at a reach disadvantage. Or maybe it is difficult to land a head kick for you. If that's the case, my first thought is, I don't remember the specific name, but there was a kyokushin black belt, a kyokushin master. He was an older guy, and he was one of the few men who completed the 100-man kumite. And he had a long torso and relatively short legs. And in those 100 consecutive matches he did, he landed a lot of head kick knockouts early on. And his hip flexibility was fascinating. Like, I really wasn't expecting to see that many head kicks from this guy, let alone a lot of them. Now, of course, toward the end of this 100-man kumite, as with them all, these guys get very tired, very, very injured, and it is a test of will more than anything else after probably the first 30 matches. By the time you get to fight number 100, it's really just a test of will to stay on your feet. But watch some of those. Watch some of those 100-man kumites, the early matches, and you'll see a lot of these guys have a really funny way of throwing their head kicks, which is pretty unconventional in modern kickboxing and Muay Thai. And it's cool. It's really cool. So my advice for you, stretch your hip flexors. Work on your splits every day. It's something that, back in the day, anybody who was doing karate, taekwondo, any traditional martial art, American kickboxing, you were just expected to be able to do the splits. Whether you had short legs, a long torso, long legs, whatever, you were just expected to do it. Now, I can't tell you how many times I have taught kickboxing classes or done kickboxing seminars where I even suggest the idea of stretching, not even doing the splits, and people lose their mind. Stretching? Are you kidding me? But that's mildly uncomfortable. I'll never be able to kick above my knees. Like, wow, what happened to kickboxing in the last 20 years? Stretch, dudes, stretch. Let's see. Did I miss any other super chats while I was pontificating about Muay Thai in the Olympics? I don't think I did. All right, cool. MMA plus free running. Do I think it's a good idea? If you're in an MMA fight, why are you running away? Running away is a foul in mixed martial arts. It's illegal in mixed martial arts. Now, if you're just saying, I want to do mixed martial arts and I want to do free running because I think those two things are cool, great. Have fun. Brave Little Spidey says, MMA and free running sounds like playing cops and robbers. It sure does. Man, who else remembers cops and robbers? Back when I was a kid, before we had video games and modern technology and tablets where you can just watch whatever video you want whenever you want, we had this little kid across the street named Joe, and he would come over and knock on the door and say, hey, you want to play? What do you want to play, Joe? Cops and robbers. And then we'd run up and down the street all day. That's what we did for entertainment. Oh, sweet. We got a super chat from KillerBead01. Who says, tried Muay Thai this week, transitioning from boxing. Opponents were destroying my legs. Was using a high guard. Any advice for improving my defense? Well, yeah, if they're destroying your legs, there's a very simple solution to that. Learn to check kicks. So, in order to check kicks, you're probably going to have to change your stance a bit, unless you are already well versed in the old English boxing stance. What I mean by that, put most of your weight on your back leg and keep your lead leg fairly light so you can easily lift it to check kicks. And you should be able to immediately transfer weight from the front to the back in order to, well, attack in any particular way. For example, you want to throw your right hand, you can drop your weight onto your lead leg and then throw that right hand with power. Okay, you want to check a kick, your lead leg is light, so you can lift it up easily. You want to throw a teep to counter a kick before it gets to you? Great. You're light on the lead leg, so you can teep with it. That would be a front kick, if you don't know that since you're starting Muay Thai. But if you're in a side stance against people who are leg kicking you, and if you're boxing, boxers often assume a side stance. fairly normal thing to do if you're playing like a Philly shell type of game. You're going to be a side stance. You're going to get your legs kicked to pieces, unless you were very, very fast. So change your stance, learn how to check kicks, and Muay Thai is going to be a completely different experience for you. What else can you do besides checking kicks? I got a whole video on about 7 things you can do to defend leg kicks besides checking them. Go check that one out. It's a video just for you, KillerBead001. Let me see if I can find that one. Hold on. We got some dead air space here going on. So I'm looking up my name, Ramsey Dewey. Checking kicks. What do we have here? Yes, 7 leg kick defenses besides shin checking. So let me copy that link, and I will post that for you here in the chat. There you go. Go watch that video. It's got the answers to your questions, the solutions to your problems. You're welcome. Martial Geeks is in the chat. Go check this guy out. Doing great work debunking, not so much debunking, but questioning. Questioning, that's the right word. Questioning some very, very suspicious Tai Chi frauds. I'm just going to come out and call them that. Okay, Sam808TT says, I have a very pointy chin. Can I use it to grind into people's ribs to get reactions in MMA and BJJ? I occasionally do it in the gym for fun, and I find it very effective. Okay, I'm laughing about this because I was rolling with one of my students and the other day, and Chinese people are not usually known for their facial hair. And my student Abdul, he's from Xinjiang. He's Uyghur. He's a very good fighter. He's had about 4 fights so far, 4 victories, doing really well. So we're rolling, and afterwards he mentions that my beard, my face, because there's a lot of close head-to-head contact in grappling. Very aggressive cuddling, man. He said that the beard was very abrasive, felt like sandpaper on his face. Now, if you add that to a pointy chin digging into you, this can lead to certain problems. Do you remember Elvis Sinosic? Australian fighter Elvis Sinosic. He had probably the rarest submission in the UFC, which was a work around the rule of no eye gouging. He got to a top position and dug his pointy chin into the other guy's eye socket until he got the tap. And he technically didn't do anything illegal because, as the rule reads, you are not allowed to insert fingers into the eyes or into any other bodily orifice. The rule says nothing about sticking your chin into the eyes or other bodily orifices. That sounds pretty nasty when you say it out loud with the word bodily orifices. But that's what happened. Now, your question makes me think about all of these little things that seem like they should be illegal. And if they start happening enough times, they probably will become illegal. But nobody's talking about them. And one of the most brutal legal techniques out there, I saw it not too long ago. I don't remember what organization it was. It wasn't the UFC. I actually did it myself accidentally while sparring, and it opened up a huge cut on my training partner's face. And this was accidental. Now, if you put malicious intent behind this particular technique, you could kill people pretty easily. Are you wondering what it is? And as soon as people start catching on or doing this, if they do, because again, it seems very illegal, even though it's technically not. And that is weaponizing the cup. Weaponizing the groin protector, specifically if you are wearing a steel groin protector. Most specifically, hitting your opponent in the head, in the face, in the forehead, with your pelvis when wearing a steel groin protector. That can cause not just cuts, some pretty nasty ones very quickly, but skull fractures. That could lead to some pretty catastrophic injuries. It is not illegal to hit your opponent with your groin. Do you remember there was a George St. Pierre fight? And what's his name? Who's that coach? Greg Jackson was in his corner. And GSP said something like he felt like he had pulled his groin between rounds. And Greg Jackson's reply was, "I don't care. Hit him with your groin." And that became a meme for a while before internet memes were really a thing. But if you went to it, like any MMA chat group on the internet back then, it was a running gag. Hit him with your groin. And this is legal. So the fight I saw not too long ago, again, I don't remember what organization it was for. The top fighter had north-south position, and he started hip thrusting his groin protector, his Thai steel cup, directly into the face of his opponent, smashing his face to a bloody pulp. I don't know why everybody isn't doing this if they really want to win that badly. I mean, people are risking their careers and their health to take steroids to get an advantage. Just to get a little bit of an advantage. They will go that far. But the hit him with your groin technique, man, for some reason, we just won't allow ourselves to go there. Dawil2106 says, do pro fighters use contact lenses? When I train, sometimes they fall out if I get hit. I remember there was an early UFC fight where one of the fighters had contact lenses and they kept coming out, and it was a big issue. And this fighter kept calling the ref over like, I lost a contact lens. I've coached people who wore contact lenses at the gym, and they kept coming out, and it causes a lot of problems, man. If you're getting your face bashed in, you're getting punched in the eyes, it's not uncommon to get punched in the eyes. I would not like to think of what would happen to a contact lens in your eyeball when you were getting punched and elbows dropped and kicked in the head and all this other stuff and people rubbing up against you. And you ever have a grappling match where your face is getting squished up against the other guy and your eyelid flips backwards? Man, that happens to me more often than I would like to think about. If I had contact lenses, and that sort of thing is happening, dude, you don't need to see details in a fight. The most important thing to perceive with your vision is motion. It's your peripheral vision. That is the most important thing. And thank goodness that's about all I have left. Sam wants to know if I will start uploading more on my religion and philosophy channel again. I will. I have about 3 fairly long-form videos scripted that I have yet to record for that channel. I don't usually script videos, but for my religion and philosophy channel, I've scripted several of them. And I'm pretty excited about recording these. I just haven't got around to it because life has been pretty busy. So I would like to know what kind of videos you would like to see on my religion and philosophy channel. Do you have particular questions you would like to address on the religion and philosophy channel? Did someone steal my wallet in Argentina? I got mugged in Argentina a lot, but I never carried a wallet with me. I did carry money with me, but I didn't have a wallet. So, dude, I got mugged like 6 times, and most of the time I got mugged, they didn't take very much. Because generally what I had with me, I was a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I had a bag filled with scriptures, copies of the Book of Mormon, the Bible, pamphlets with a picture of Jesus on them that said, Our Heavenly Father's plan. Not typically the type of stuff that people want to steal from you. Pro Plays wants to know if I'm trained in Taekwondo and Karate. Yes. I hold black belts in Taekwondo and Kyokushin Karate. I've also trained in Shotokan. Do I have brain damage? That's a funny question. Dude Wait says, Coach, what do you think about sparring for nearsighted people? I found out the other day that nearsighted people are advised not to train boxing because of the higher chance of retinal detachment. This is the first I've heard of nearsighted people experiencing a higher chance of retinal detachment. Now, myopia is generally caused by a elongated eyeball, if you will. So I'm not sure why that would lead to a higher chance of retinal detachment. I'm very nearsighted myself, and this is before I lost about half my vision when I had my last professional fight, and my opponent smashed my skull with a single punch and partially blinded me. So, what do I think about sparring for nearsighted people? I really don't see an issue, because when you fight, you're not very far away from the other guy. It's a close contact type of thing. And once again, seeing details is not important in fighting. Seeing motion is. And even if you're nearsighted, nobody's peripheral vision is clear. The peripheral vision is how you sense motion. Even if you're nearsighted, the peripheral vision is going to be fine. It's going to be on par with anybody else's peripheral vision, barring some other disability. Arya Muad wants to know who's the heaviest guy I have trained with. I had a student who weighed over 425 pounds. I think he was probably the heaviest guy I've trained with. I've trained with a lot of heavy guys, but the 425-pound guy was probably the heaviest. Happy 69 Abel says, Hello, Ramsey. Is it common for a martial arts instructor to be arrogant, toxic, and dumb? I met many instructors who are like that. Arrogant, toxic, and dumb. What do you mean by toxic? That is one of those Orwellian newspeak terms that gets tossed around pretty lazily. People use that to describe things like toxic masculinity. Are we going to pathologize masculinity now? Well, that's been happening for a very long time. So what do you mean by toxic? Let's put that into actual English words that can be easily understood. So, you've met a bunch of jerks who are martial arts trainers. Is it common? Look, anytime you have anybody in a position of power or a position of authority or seeming authority, you're going to find a bunch of jerks. Will they all be that way? Yes, I mean, no, of course not. But will you find a lot of them? Of course. Have you ever had a job before? A job where you had perhaps a manager or a supervisor or some kind of overseer, some person who had authority over you, stewardship over you and everybody else. And the guy was a jerk and you just hated him. I think anybody who's had more than a few jobs knows that manager. It's pretty common, right? So, yeah, man. Look for positions of authority and you will find some jerks there. Why? Because people with sociopathic tendencies tend to aspire to leadership positions. Scott Bauer says, as LDS, short for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, hey, that's my church, does not have a state equivalent, what community do you have in Shanghai outside of MMA? So there is a branch of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Shanghai. It exists. I go to church every Sunday. It's great. It's awesome. So that is a community I have outside of MMA. What other communities do I have outside of MMA? Well, that's a good question. I hang out with my kids a lot. There's a thing called YouTube, where sometimes I get on there and I make videos and interact with other human beings. Now, a fairly large percentage of the time we talk about mixed martial arts, but not every time. Sometimes we talk about things like, oh, I don't know, questions about the church, like you just asked right there. Pro Plays wants to know, how can you train so many martial arts and also have accomplished so many things like an MMA career and black belts? Because I'm 45 years old and I've been training in martial arts most of my life, dude. It's a full-time job. A better question would be, if you devoted your life to martial arts, how could you not? You ever hear that really stupid expression, you learn something new every day, don't you? If you learn something new every day, then in 1 year you're going to learn 365 things, which is not a lot of things to learn in an entire year. If your job is teaching martial arts, training fighters to win fights, accumulating martial knowledge to facilitate the process of making a stable of fighters the best they possibly can be at winning fights, and you are not doing that, then you are an absolute garbage person at your job. How could you not do that with all the decades of experience that you are wasting by sitting on your butt, watching the internet, eating potato chips, watching TV, whatever the heck people do that isn't getting out there and training? There's this magical thing called get out there and train that we always talk about on this channel that makes all the difference. Sam wants to know if I have any methods for overcoming those pre-fight doubts that creep in towards the end of camp. Just tell yourself, dude, this is happening now. Deal with it. It's a fight. You're going to get hit. It's going to hurt. It's going to suck. Boom. Do it anyway. You might as well participate actively and get a reward instead of cringing in fear. Notice I used the word cringe correctly, unlike all these Gen Z kids these days who murdered that word. That's so cringe, bro. Don't cringe in fear. Notice I used it as a verb. That is the correct usage of that word, my friend. Wizardly Rhino wants to know how long I was technically a blue belt. I held the rank of blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for about 12 years. I held the rank of white belt for about 6 years, blue belt for 12, purple belt for 2, and so far 2 years and a bit as a brown belt. I was teaching a jiu-jitsu class in the gi last night, and a student who had never seen me wear the gi before came in and he said, "What, you're only a brown belt?" And I said, "Yeah, it only took me 20 years to get this brown belt." And suddenly he looked kind of deflated, and I said, "Yeah, dude, if you're a belt chaser, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the wrong martial art for you to study, because you do not get those promotions quick." So I'm laughing at this question. Videos for stuff says probably, does learning Kung Fu involve as much destruction of pottery as the movies suggests? I'm laughing because there's a fairly popular social media channel here in China. They have a Weixin channel. They've got like a Bilibili channel. They've got like, I think they're on Douyin, like all the major Chinese social media video sharing sites. And they're Kung Fu guys. I don't know which specific martial art they focus on, but they break a lot of pots. Like they're training in this like kind of dark warehouse. They got a dirt floor. They hang up pots on ropes, and they're always like kicking these pots and breaking them in slow motion. It looks super cool, but man, they break a lot of pots. So if you're training in whatever the heck style that is, then yes, training Kung Fu involves definitely as much destruction of pottery as the movies suggests. Angelo Esguerra wants to know who I think is more toxic in the martial arts community. There we are with that word toxic again. I asked you to define that word, and so far nobody has defined what they think that means. What do you mean by toxic? Who's more toxic in the martial arts community, Bruce Lee fanboys or catch wrestlers? If by toxic, do you mean annoying? Because if you mean annoying, then definitely the Bruce Lee fanboys. Now, what is annoying about catch wrestlers on the internet? Catch wrestlers in real life, like the real ones, totally cool. Catch wrestlers online, catch wrestlers in air quotes, online. Different thing. Oh, man. And I'm talking about the guys who don't train. They don't get out there and train. The guys who don't spend a lot of time on the mats, but they do spend a lot of time yapping about how catch wrestling is better than jiu-jitsu because reasons. And that's just dumb. I love catch wrestling. It's an art, a sport that I enjoy, I've competed in, I've trained in. It's great. So, no reason to get stupid about it. Okay, looking for a few more questions here. Do I have any videos on how to finish an Aoki Lock? Man, I really should have made one of those when Jordan Chow was around. That was one of his favorite moves. And he would catch people with the Aoki Lock fairly often. I remember once he caught this dude with an Aoki Lock, and it was Jordan's first time rolling with this guy. And the dude had never seen the Aoki Lock before. And people have this really bad habit in Jiu-Jitsu of not tapping out to new submissions that they haven't seen before. It doesn't matter if they hurt and if their arm or their leg is breaking off. They're just like, well, I don't recognize this is dangerous, therefore I'm not going to tap out because it does not compute. So Jordan starts cranking. He's not going hard or heavy or anything like that. He's not going fast. He's trying to give the guy time to tap out. Dude refuses to tap out and instead starts screaming at Jordan, "You maniac, what are you doing? You know, that should be illegal." Rah! Anyway, I get a very similar reaction when wrist locking people. Most people are not familiar with getting wrist lock. They've never experienced it before. And when you wrist lock people who are not used to getting wrist locked, they don't tap out. They start screaming at you. They start screaming about what a horrible person you are. And yeah, man, it's funny. It is very funny. Leg locks are similar. Like the heel hook, for example. Now, you shouldn't crank on heel hooks when you are training. I like to play a game of catch and release. I don't care if they tap or not. If I'm going to break them, I'm going to let go. I don't care if they tap, right? I just don't want people to get hurt. But people get stupid sometimes about heel hooks. Like, sometimes you just touch somebody's leg, especially if they come from that old school leg locks or the devil mentality, and they will start screaming at you. Like, they won't tap out to it. When they need to, they will just start screaming. It's nuts. Finally, somebody is attempting to define toxic. Okay, Happy Guy 69 Abel says, well, toxic like if I show a video of martial arts technique. In video, he gets angry and says, I'm your coach, don't show. Or if I speak about martial arts like Bartitsu, he gets offended and says, Jeet Kune Do is first. Oh, okay. So basically, toxic means annoying. Got it. What else do we have? The coach is a cult leader. I wonder about that sometimes. Oh, man. If I'm a cult leader, I'm a pretty lousy cult leader. Because when my students and athletes come to me and say, hey, coach, what do you think if I go train at this other gym to get some different looks at training? I'm like, cool, go do that. Yes, get as much martial arts experience and as many perspectives as you can. But what does a cult leader do? They say, no, I am the one true way. I am the one true path. You may not go train with anybody else. You may not get any input outside of mine. My approval is the only that you need. That's what a cult leader does. Brandon Bradley wants to know, any thoughts on Craig Jones Invitational versus ADCC? We talked about that a bit last time. I don't really have any new thoughts about that, but I'm reading this because I read a headline today about Craig Jones, that he was at a seminar, and some dudes come into the seminar, and they say essentially, hey, Craig Jones, stop teaching technique. We just want to tap you out. And so they roll with him, and they're trying to roll for keeps, basically. Craig Jones catches a guy in a leg lock. The guy refuses to tap. Craig Jones applies increasing pressure. The guy still refuses to tap. And then Craig Jones ended up breaking the guy's leg. And I was reading some of the comments about this, and they seemed pretty divided down the middle. About half of them said, Craig Jones is the devil. How dare he break this guy's leg? He should know better. And the other half were like, well, the dude had it coming. He had ample time and opportunity to tap. He chose not to. He was disrespectful coming into the seminar saying, stop teaching techniques, let's fight. Both points, of course, have their merits. Human beings don't fight fair. A few people are discussing this topic in the comments here. No, of course not. Fighting. The whole purpose of training to fight, the whole purpose of martial arts, is the acquisition of power. Martial arts can be about whatever you want it to be, but ultimately it is about the acquisition of power. What you do with that power, that's going to be the variable. Some people seek power so that they can impose their will on others. Some people seek power so they can be big jerks. Some people seek that power so they can defend themselves, etc. But it's all a pursuit of power. Brave Little Spidey says, Ramsey, did you know that Rokas got severely injured from a scissor kick? That sucks. Yeah, so I heard that our friend Rokas Leonovicius got injured, not from a kick, but from a scissor sweep. Not a scissor sweep, a flying scissor takedown. What's that called in Japanese? I'm always blanking on the Japanese terms when I need them. Anyway, so the flying scissor takedown, the kane basame, that's it. So he's in jiu-jitsu class, and I found out about this because somebody who apparently hates Rokas' guts sent me a series of messages saying, hey, did you hear about how Rokas got injured? You're probably laughing about this, right? I sure am. And I was confused because I hadn't heard about Rokas' injury. And I said, like, what are you talking about, man? And he said, oh yeah, he messed up his knee for life, just like he messed up your knee for life. Now, if you don't know the story, last summer in Australia, Rokas hosted the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship Season 1, later went on to do a Season 2, and at that event, which was... there was a lot wrong with the way it was run, but at that event, one of the dudes dropped on my head from the ceiling, hyperextended my knees, destroyed the cartilage in my knees, tore the ligaments, completely destroyed the ligaments, and I am going to need a total knee replacement. So it's yeah, I got crippled for life doing Rokas' event. So this guy who apparently watched one of these videos where I discussed this topic felt that obviously because that happened, then I must hate this guy as much as he hates Rokas for whatever reason he hates him. And he wanted me to participate in this revenge fantasy. This guy later wrote Rokas a pretty long letter that Rokas posted on his Instagram story, and I clicked on that and I read it, and the guy wrote this whole revenge fantasy manifesto to Rokas about how he got what he deserved and all this stuff, and I was like, holy crap, this dude needs to calm down. I sent Rokas a message, checked up on him, asked him how he was doing, and Rokas said, pretty simply, We need to focus on moving forward because it makes no sense on focusing on what we can't do. And those are pretty wise words, I would say. So yeah, our friend Rokas got hurt. So once again, let's keep him in our prayers. If you are a person who believes in God and prays and believes in the power of prayer, yeah, keep him in your prayers. Let's see what Rokas is up to these days. I haven't checked on his channel in a while. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so looks like he's posted a notification here. As Season 2 of the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship is coming closer, I want to share something really cool with you. Being a big movie series fan, I always loved the IMDb. In fact, honestly, without being proud of it, I'm a bit addicted to its ratings. And a few live videos ago, I found out I have an IMDb page I didn't even know about. So that's quite interesting. I don't know who set up my IMDb page, but I have one. And it's got some credits for various podcasts I've appeared on, a few of my own YouTube videos. I don't know why those specific ones, but anyway, I got an IMDb page. Anyway, Rokas goes on to say, if a series scores lower than 8.0, there's a big chance I'm not going to watch it. And now, without seeing it coming, the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship is on the website that I love, IMDb. Oh, cool. It's a great way for the show to reach more people, educate them about self-defense, and just have a good time watching it. Yet one thing is missing. If you use the IMDb, it would be a great help if you could rate the show, rate it honestly, or even leave a review. If you're a big fan like myself, you can even rate individual episodes. Last but definitely not least, if you were wondering when Season 2 is coming out, he gives some information there. All right. Well, interesting. It's on the IMDb. Let's check this out. Let's go to the IMDb. Ultimate Self-Defense Championship. Okay. It's got some photos up there. Huh. And it's got the cast. And it's got a link to my IMDb page. There we go. Sweet. I wonder if there's any trivia down here about the dude falling on my head. He probably doesn't want the negative press for that. Anyway, let's wish Rokas a speedy recovery. Because, dude, that sucks. I should probably take a look at that video he actually made about the subject. Let's see. Paul Evans sends in a super chat. I got asked this on a podcast once, and I would like to ask you, at the age you are now, what do you think you know for sure? At the age I am now, what do I think I know for sure? The earliest thing that I ever knew for sure, and that I still know now, there are a few very simple things. One, I know that I exist. I know that God lives. These are two truths. And I know that the two are intrinsically intertwined. Because I know that I and you are children of God. And you may be asking, how do I know that? The Spirit of God whispers to our spirit that we are the children of God, and if children, then heirs. Heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ, if it so be that we suffer with him. The Apostle Paul wrote that. And I've found that to be 100% true. But you have to want that knowledge. Kalinga98 is trying to compete in Sanda. Any tips on things I should focus on in my preparations? Okay. Well, how prepared are you right now? What have you done so far? You're trying to compete. How much training have you done? And what kind of problems are you running into, if any? I need a little input here. I can throw out some general tips like work on your setups to get your opponent to throw an easy kick so you can catch it, so you can toss him and score some big points, but maybe you're already good at that. Maybe you need to focus on your boxing more. Maybe you need to focus on your throws and takedowns. Maybe you need to focus on your ringmanship. I don't know. Give me some details. Sam wants to know, can you remember the name of the coffee video you mentioned previously? I'd love to learn more about what it was you were talking about. I've made a number of videos where I've mentioned coffee. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea. I don't use alcohol or tobacco or harmful drugs of any kind. Never have, never will. I did make a video titled something along the lines of why Ramsey does not use caffeine and why you probably shouldn't either. In that video, I do talk about coffee. Now, coffee, tea, tobacco, alcohol, harmful drugs are proscribed by my particular religion, meaning, don't do it. Thou shalt not. Caffeine is not prescribed by my religion, meaning there's no official church policy regarding the use of caffeine. I don't use it. That's not a religious choice. That is a personal choice. Doesn't do you one lick of good. Some people will argue to the contrary. But I think that is the video. Let me see if I can just look that up. Let's just look up Ramsey Dewey and caffeine, and I'll send you the link. There we go. 2 kinds of supplements and why Ramsey won't touch caffeine. Let me copy that and put that in the chat. There you go. There's the video link. Am I a fan of the Kesa fighting method? No, I think it's garbage. To answer Ace of Spade. Am I a fan of it? Nope. So a lot of discussion about caffeine, coffee, energy drinks going on here. Again, just looking for your questions. Specific ones, specifically. Because there are a lot of fairly general ones, like what do you think about fill in the blank? Okay, this is a good question. Are there any other things I think people regularly consume but are not aware of the harmful side effects? Sure. Yeah, of course. Man, I read this question. Where did I read this? I read this question on the internet. This lady was complaining that it was very hard to become physically fit. She's trying to lose weight or something like that. So she's working out, trying to diet. And her doctor recommended that she get at least 30% of her calories from protein. Which is still, that's a pretty low bar for protein. That's fairly average. Right? If you're not getting at least 30% of your calories from protein, what are you doing with your diet? And she said, it's impossible. How can I possibly get 30% of my calories from protein. That's like 30 grams of protein a day. Like, how much is this lady eating? That is not a lot of protein. That's like a serving of beef or a serving of tuna fish or a few eggs. And so I read a little bit more, and her idea of a healthy diet consisted mostly of carbohydrates, like almost 100% carbohydrates, bread, pasta, rice. And, it's not that bread, pasta, and rice are inherently bad or wrong. However, eating a diet made almost exclusively of bread and pasta and rice is a crappy diet. Get some protein in there, man. Vegans will tell you otherwise, but eating animals is good for you. They're going to get mad at me. I know it. They always do. But it's the truth. Happy Guy 69 Abel says, "Are Krav Maga guys strong, Ramsey, because they don't win fights?" Out of all the Krav Maga guys I've met, I met a couple of strong ones. But here's a question. How many Krav Maga practitioners do you know who actually compete in any sort of combat sport? I don't know any. But they will be more than happy to tell you, well, we don't train for the ring or the cage, we train for the streets. Somebody's asking if I've seen some vegan I've never heard of who is ripped. Yeah, I've seen ripped vegans out there on the internet. I'll tell you what, though, man, for every ripped vegan, you're gonna see 10,000 of them who are not. And at the same time, for every ripped person out there, you're gonna see 10,000 who are not. Bandito Dorito says, "Why do you think that many people get stuck on things like keto diets when calories in, calories out is proven to be more effective?" Okay, like people want to lose weight, and so they go on a ketogenic diet, a diet invented to, not for weight loss, but to treat, what's the word? Epilepsy. Yeah. The ketogenic diet was intended to treat epilepsy. So why do these weight loss people stick to fad diets instead of focusing on eat fewer calories and burn more calories with your movement? I think it's a mental illness, to be honest, because they want to believe it's magical thinking. If I do the magical thing, I will get the magical result. As opposed to, if I do the logical thing, I will get the logical result. It's a mental illness. Angelo mentions that Clarence Kennedy is very strong and vegan but is on steroids. That happens a lot. Am I going to make more MMA fighters try women's self-defense videos? Yes. I got one in my editing queue right now with Jordan Chow. I really need to edit that one because we filmed it like almost a year ago. Oh boy. Wow. What have I been doing with my life? But yes, we will definitely make more of those. Will Speakman says he's going on holiday to Shanghai tomorrow. Cool. Come say hi. All right, guys. I think I'm going to call it a night. Hang up on this live chat here, unless I see any other pressing questions. Does Jordan Chow have a knife in the upcoming video? I don't remember. He might not. If so, total missed opportunity. Actually, I think this might be the first MMA Fighters Try Self-Defense Techniques video where Jordan Chow does not have a knife. We can fix it in post. Can anyone come to my gym? Yes. Even just to train for a week? Yes. If you're in town, come train with us. All right, guys. Like I said, gonna hang it up. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for participating in the live chat. Thank you for watching. Now get out there and train.